One. Hey, Susan. It is so good to be here this morning. It's always good to be here with other believers. It just is. I'll tell you. Oh, and Roland's got a special guest this morning here too. Roland and Jennifer's got a guest. Good to see you here. So I didn't see Jennifer first, then you sat back up again. It's like, oh, and Jennifer too. So any Sunday, it's great to be here. Great to be here with you guys. But today's even more special. Why? He's risen. Now, we celebrate this every Sunday, right? Yeah. We do. We do. But there's just something special about it when there's a festival, if you will. You know, because we know that more of the world is thinking about it right now. It does make it special for that. So we've got a couple of minutes right now, and I'm gonna keep this limited, is the first three people who have got a special Easter memory that they would like to share. You've got a minute, but we're going to limit to three. So I've got Susan for one. We have two others, and Loretta. Going. Oh, it almost looked like one over at the Longs, but it's not an auction. You moved. Oh, but Casey took it. Okay. Doesn't matter in which order, but just some special Easter memories about why this is special for you. This is kind of fun. It's also fellowship. It's also learning about each other. We're here fellowshipping. We're family. So it's good to know about people's past and things to think about.
Well, this is the only thing I will do for Bible class because we're going to my other church, Calvary, that I mentioned several times. It's where John and I had our first Easter together every year.
Yeah, first Easter together. That is special.
And also on top of that, today is my aunt Patty's anniversary of her death today.
Thank you for sharing that. Loretta, you're up.
Well, it was Easter, but my memory has to do with it was the first day I ever ran because I was bow-legged and pigeon-toed, and I had never been able to run. And I ran in my Easter dress and fell down and ruined my Easter dress.
Oh, no.
Well, obviously you got the church stuff and all that, but setting aside the church stuff, Easter was a big time for a family, and as long as my mom was around, everyone would come and we'd get together, sometimes over 50 people, family members, and just some really fun times. And one of the enjoyable parts was we'd have people from maybe 5 different families kind of thing, extended and not related, and they would sit around trying to figure out how are we related. And that was kind of fun. It happened every Easter. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, with people getting together and supporting each other, so that's good. So I have one that I got to tell on my boys when they were little. So we had just doing the little plastic Easter eggs. You know, you put little candy in them, and the kids go find them in the yard. You don't really hide them; you just put them out there, and they sort of walk around and pick them up. And inevitably, there's always a couple that get missed. You find them over the next few weeks or whatever. And so when my boys were young, I'm not sure exactly how old, they were both pretty small. And Gabriel found an egg, and we were going through his eggs and opening them up after he had some, just from the backyard. He opens one up, it's muddy water. From the year before. So he immediately blames Joel. Joel! Just knowing he'd set him up. But yeah, the year-old plastic one's out in Oregon rain and mud. It was not what a little kid wanted to find. So anyway, but good times. one of the important things, of course, is spending time together, like we're doing right now, learning about each other, having fun together. Those are all important fellowship things. But we're also here about what has God done for us. And that's why it's special, like Loretta's saying, every single Sunday, because that's what we're doing. So today's special. Hopefully you've got a lot of visitors today. That'd be great. It's always great when we have people come, and we know there's even more people that are not necessarily churched a lot, but it's a special day that they might be thinking about that. So watch out for your neighbors. Watch out for people there that you can share with. Somebody, if you see somebody that you don't know that's here today or in your neighborhood or something like that, reach out to them. It's a great opportunity to speak to them and to bring up God. So we're going to be today continuing with the book of Hebrews. We're in chapter 8. So last week we were talking about Jesus' priesthood being superior to Melchizedek. So if you guys remember Melchizedek, I know I'm talking to a lot of people that remember a lot of this stuff, but with Melchizedek being that special high priest that was genealogy, there was no beginning, no end, it was just something different. So we were talking about him being superior to that. So as we continue in chapter 8, it then jumps from there and then moves forward to how else is this superior. So let me just read the first couple of verses here on it. So, and this is why chapter 8 starts the way it does. Now to the main point of what we are saying is this. We do have such a high priest who sat down at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven, and who serves in the sanctuary, the true tabernacle, set up by the Lord, not by a mere human being. And that's why this chapter seems like it's starting in the middle of a thought, and it's kind of continuing. We're just talking about Melchizedek and how he's superior to that. Why would that be important to the original readers, well, and us today too, but the original readers of Hebrews, the book of Hebrews? Who was it written to originally? Hebrews, that's right. So these are going to be, mostly it's going to be Jewish people that are converts, and some of them are starting to kind of get pulled back into it. So obviously a lot with the promised land, you've got all the priests, you've got the sacrifices, you've got all these things that you've got to do in order to please God. Lots and lots of sacrifices. We've been reading about that the last few weeks. We've been going through our daily reading. That they have all of that, and there's that pull for them to join back in again. Don't go off in this renegade movement. You need to stay true to your faith and stay true to Judaism. And so he's addressing this with them. So he's talking about Melchizedek. So they have priests that do all the sacrifices, and Melchizedek was a great high priest, if you will, king of peace, all these different descriptions you have of him. Was there something different that was Melchizedek compared to the other priests? Melchizedek of old compared to the priests that these people would have had in their lives right then?
He was not priest because of any lineage. He wasn't priest because his grandfather was Aaron. This was way before Aaron. And so he was priest because apparently God appointed him so. That's a guess. It doesn't say that.
Yeah. So, and that's exactly right. And that was going to be my point with that is these original readers who this was directed to originally, they had priests that were there and that they would need to go to and all of this. and yet Melchizedek, who they consider to be top, he was like, that was it. That was just way beyond anything that they had then. And so he's drawing a correlation, or not a correlation, he's drawing a contrast between Jesus and Melchizedek. So he's not saying, hey, it's like the priests here. So we're going to read a little bit more about this in these next verses. So starting with verse 3. Every high priest is appointed to offer both gifts and sacrifices, and so it is necessary for this one also to have something to offer. So they're used to every high priest doing sacrifices. They're used to that. They know this. This is, in all of their teaching growing up, this is what they know. And so he's not saying that Jesus doesn't do sacrifices, he doesn't have anything to offer. What he's saying is, as high priest, so he's drawing his correlation. This is Jesus. This is not some renegade, whatever. It's like, no, he's bringing this up about Melchizedek, drawing like I'm comparing to him, not comparing him to the current high priest and all the priesthood and all of this. He's making that connection through Melchizedek for there. But he doesn't just say, oh yeah, and he's a guy and he died on the cross. He's saying he had to have something to offer. So what was Jesus offering? What did Jesus have to offer that those other physical Levitical priests did not do? A sinless life, an eternal life. Yeah, that's right. So where those priests did that, and so we follow this right into here. Just continue reading with verse 4. So if we were on earth, if he were on earth, he would not be a priest, for there are already priests. There's already people doing that. If he were on earth, he wouldn't be a priest, because we already have priests who offer gifts prescribed by the law, the old law. They serve at a sanctuary that is a copy and a shadow of what is in heaven. So he's now drawing the temple into it, and he's drawing just the entire thing. It's a shadow. The temple's a shadow. The old law is a shadow. So he's challenging your beliefs. If you're going to get drawn back into it, he's challenging the whole thing, all equally with that. So this day and age, we hear some different things that we can have some comparisons in our daily life. So if we have an old law, a new law, you kind of think about new and improved. Well, that's, marketers, new and improved. Well, is it actually a new and improved covenant that God's got with us, the promise? New and improved. It's not. It's not new and improved. New and improved, that's how a marketer's going to do that. There's an example of buying an 8-ounce yogurt. And all of a sudden you start seeing, hey, new and improved in the same yogurt. And well, what's different about it? Well, the 8-ounce cup now has 6 ounces in it, but it's still an 8-ounce cup. And then they put on there that there's now room for you to put your toppings into it and to stir them in. They've given you room to put your toppings in, but they still charge you the same thing, and they put on there new and improved. Well, it's yogurt, so we're not going to go there anyway. That Renee gets that. She gets that. But that's just marketing. New and improved. Well, so what about if we take a jet plane in the 1940s, during World War II? A jet plane, or even a prop plane, if it's early 1942. They were just starting to hit with the jets, but you've got that, and now you compare it to an F-16 or even above now. That's pretty new and improved and faster and all kinds of stuff that it can do. But is it really new and improved? That's just different technology. That's just making something different. It's not really new and improved. The plane from the 40s is not a shadow of what they're building now. It's not a replica, a shadow, or anything like that of what they're doing now. This is just things have changed and they just build them differently. What we're told here is that the early temple, the way Moses was told to build it, the tabernacle, the law, everything else, that's a shadow. It's not just new and improved. That's a shadow of what was the better that we're looking at. It's not a marketing ploy. It's just not a marketing ploy on that, for something like that. So another one that I think about is, I don't know if I know we've got some people who do Legos in church here, but if you remember that TV show from a few years ago, the Lego Masters, I don't know if they still do that or not. Church of Christ guy from Portland, Boone, that has gone big with that, and he actually works for him full time now, and he's, stuff you see out in the stores. He's actually designed a bunch of those, and he does. I don't know. Does he live in Sweden or somewhere? They've got him in Europe, where he does all the developing. So he actually comes up with those, and so we'll see him on the market now and everything, and they have a map about here's how to do it, and here's the pieces. Here's the pieces how to build this. So he'll come up with a design. He basically creates it, along with another, the whole team of them. But they create it and they get it out there and do it a map. And then I, very humbly tried to just follow the directions, and still can't do it. Yeah, you have that one piece left over at the end. It's like, well, where does that go? Oh, I missed it. And I even had plans on how to do that. But that's something where you have somebody who's creating that. But that's not a shadow. That's where a human created it. He's telling us, here's how to do that. And then I'm just trying to do the same thing again. That's not a shadow of a bigger promise. That's not a shadow. That's something there. So as creative as he is, a shadow of whatever he's building might be what I would humbly try to do down here and have four pieces together and go, it's a bridge, something like that. And I have to tell people it's a bridge so that they understand what it is, because they can't tell by looking at it. So that's something you see humans creating things, we do things, we tie all things in like that. But it's not a correlation with it being a shadow that we're hearing from this. So in verse 5, continue on with verse 5, chapter 8, verse 5, talking about those priests. They serve at a sanctuary that is a copy and a shadow of what is heaven, of what is in heaven. This is why Moses was warned when he was about to build the tabernacle. See to it that you make everything according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. But in fact, the ministry Jesus has received is as superior to theirs as the covenant in which he is mediator, in which case he is mediator is superior to the old one, since the new covenant is established on better promises. It's not new and improved. This is a new thing that's just designed better. Maybe like designing a better printer for your computer. There's ideas, but you have to create a lot of new things in order to make it a new covenant. So he's teaching the people then, this writer is teaching us that it's not a new covenant. Don't hold on to that old one, because there's something new. I think I said that backwards. This is something new. It's a new covenant. It's not just new and improved old covenant. So you got to let go of that. If you don't let go of it, you can't take the new covenant. So he doesn't want them falling away from their Christianity to pull back into Judaism, pull back into the sacrifices, and pull back into that original promise. Because then you're going to miss it. So in verse 7, for if there had been nothing wrong with the first covenant, no place would have been sought for another. But God found fault with the people and said, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and with the people of Judah. It will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt, because they did not remain faithful to my covenant, and I turned away from them, declares the Lord. So he's saying specifically, there's something different. And again, remember we're talking about with Jesus being a high priest, but a better high priest, and not even really in that priesthood. He's got something to offer. So what he's got to offer, we were saying it earlier, was eternal life. Sinless life. There's something better. So I don't want new and improved, old covenant. I want, what's this new promise? This is way, way better, and you go with that. I don't want, if I'm going into war right now, I don't want that 1945 plane. I want that newer one. I need something different, better, more powerful, everything. You want that new one, Frank. Oh, hang on, get that mic for you.
So I'd never thought about this before until you mentioned it like this, but as God talks about, and for those people that are reading through the Old Testament, we've kind of been through all this history of the Old Testament, how God really did lead them by the hand. I mean, every day, every night, his presence was there. And he's decided, okay, that didn't work on these people. And I guess I've always wondered why, for 2,000 years, we don't have the kind of obvious miracles that we hear about in the Old Testament. Maybe God decided, that doesn't really work because I did that. And look at what these people did in terms of how faithful they were. So in the new covenant, I really am going to have people stand on faith and emphasize that more. I don't know if that strikes anybody else, but I was, kind of interested.
So, and that's exactly where this chapter goes. And of course, God sees all, knows all. He knows it ahead of us, way ahead. It's time isn't the same for him like we think of. We're kind of tied to that and how we understand things. So if we look back at the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah was dealing with basically the people being scattered throughout the nations. He's bringing them back and everything else. He's going to bring them back everything. And we've got a reading in Jeremiah. Let's see, it's Jeremiah 31 through 34.
Behold, the microphone wasn't on. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, my covenant that they broke, though I was their husband, declares the Lord. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And no longer shall each one teach his neighbor and each his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
That's with Jeremiah. What does that sound like? That definitely sounds like New Testament, doesn't it? So let me go back in Hebrews, beginning with verse 8. But God found fault with the people and said, The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and with the people of Judah. It will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt. because they did not remain faithful to my covenant. And I turned away from them, declares the Lord. This is the new covenant I will establish with the people of Israel after that time, declares the Lord. I will put my laws in their minds and write them on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will they teach their neighbor or say to one another, know the Lord, because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest. For I will forgive their wickedness, and I will remember their sins no more. The writer is quoting Jeremiah, very obviously. It's and so when you get the priests, you get the people, the Jews that had studied all their lives, they would know this old scripture from Jeremiah. They would know this. And what's this writer in Hebrews doing? He's bringing that right up to them. Remember, we were told there was going to be something new. So when you're trying to go back into traditional Judaism with the sacrifices and the priesthood and all that, when you're going back into that, it's like, hang on a second. Let's go back to the stuff you know. He told us specifically it's going to be different. So he's drawing their memory back to that. So he's not going like this with what they know. He's actually working with what they know to explain to them, and here it is. Here's what we were promised. In essence, don't hold on to that old covenant. Don't hold on to specifically that land. Don't hold on to our system of government and priesthood and all this stuff. Hang on, there's something way, way better coming. All the way back from Jeremiah, and this is what he's saying is, and here it is. It's Jesus, and he's way better. The promise that Jesus brings us is way, way better. And you already know about this. Shouldn't be a surprise to you that you should be looking for something new. So then go into, sorry, I've got a couple hands, or one hand pointing to the other, Wes.
It's interesting to me. We often look at these kinds of prophecies predictively, and we're surprised sometimes when God will even have one of his prophets act out like he did with Jeremiah and some of the other prophets, where they act out aspects of their prophecy. And I think sometimes we don't consider that that's actually what he was doing with the priesthood as well. For a millennia, they acted out this day on which Jesus would actually enact the real sacrifice in the real place. And there were all these pale little imitations of what he did in heaven. If you consider the cherubim and the seraphim on the curtains, and there's golden statues of the cherubs right where God sits. And that sounds like a degrading way to talk about the Ark of the Covenant, but when you consider the Ark of the Covenant compared to the genuine throne of God, it's a pretty pale comparison. And Jesus went not through a curtain, but he went between real cherubim and seraphim right up to the throne of God, where he now sits, having completed entirely his priestly duties. It was prophetic all the way through, and it's powerful when you see the reality that Jesus accomplished and the reflection of it for the generations prior.
Yeah. So again, we're looking at shadow. The Ark of the Covenant, it's like, to not be disrespectful, it's like, it's a shadow. It just is, and everything about it. It was man-made shadow. So, Frank's got two. I saw 2 fingers.
No, just one. That brings up a question that I don't know the answer to, so to this learned body, maybe especially Wes. But the temple itself was destroyed in AD 70. Do we know when Hebrews was written? Was it after the temple was destroyed or before the temple was destroyed?
Opinions vary. Most think after, but opinions vary.
Because it was after,
Yeah.
and maybe the Jews were pining for this thing where
they had wanted to sacrifice like they used to, you can't. And from what I understand, for the next 2,000 years up till today, they still haven't sacrificed as a Jewish community.
General consensus is after, but there are some that think before. Sorry.
And then Mark?
I guess I'll be a little contrary because the commentary associated with my Bible says the letter, the date. Hebrews must have been written before the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple in 80, because, number one, if it had been written after this date, the author surely would have mentioned the temple's destruction and at the end of the Jewish sacrificial system. And two, the author consistently uses the Greek present tense when speaking of the temple and the priestly activities connected with it.
I misremembered.
It's okay. It was a shadow.
There's forgiveness for you, Wes. Trust me. So one thing that I was wanting to ask this group about is what do you think of this? So in verses 11 and 12, it's saying, "No longer will they teach their neighbor or say to one another, 'Know the Lord,' because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest." So we're not supposed to teach each other? It sounds like, okay, we're not going to talk about it anymore. We're not teaching anybody. Hang on. Am I having a shadow moment?
Yes.
Not that I'm aware of.
You asked the shadow question.
Oh, the shadow knows.
I think his conclusion was they will all know me. So because we all know, we don't need the mic.
You need the money.
Because they all know, there's no need to be taught. They'll all have that knowledge that they were so-called teaching each other. It'll be in place. It'll be written on their hearts. It'll be on their minds.
Yeah. So I don't think it's not a matter of we don't talk about it, we don't share with people, things like that. But think about a change in the promises, in the covenant. God took them by the hand, he led them out of Egypt, he kind of told them this and this, and you do this, and you build this, and you do this. And that's just how it was. And then if you were going to repent and give a sacrifice, everything else, you would take it to the priest would do it for you and everything. Now with this new promise, it's not a matter of I go through that priest, it's a matter of each and every one of us have it in us. And we speak directly with God ourselves. That's part of the promise, is it's each of us, not you got to go meet up here and do this, and kill this, and spread this blood, and that's how you do it. It's like, no, you've got direct access. That's pretty cool part of the promise, pretty good feature to this new promise. Yeah.
When we're baptized, we're told that we receive the gift of the Holy Spirit. If I read here correctly, we speak of a Godhead, of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We don't have to know him because he's within us.
Yeah, because there's something that's with us. They didn't have that with the first covenant for that, with the first promise. So again, to put this in perspective, he's talking to people about why is Jesus better? Why is this new covenant better? Why do you not want to turn away from this? So one, that's it, and that's huge to be able to do that. Then go into the next verse, in verse 12. "For I will forgive their wickedness and will remember their sins no more." How well did those animal sacrifices work before? It would kind of put it off. And then guess what tomorrow you've got to do? And then guess what tomorrow? And guess what tomorrow? On and on and on it goes. Or we've got one high priest, we've got one sacrifice that's going to put it in each of our hearts, and it takes care of that. You don't need all of that. you're hanging on to a shadow instead of getting the real thing. Do we sometimes hang on to stuff because it's comfortable? Because we know it? Instead of looking for what's better? It's the question. So then in verse 13, to finish this chapter, by calling this covenant new, he has made the first one obsolete. He just says it. He just says it right out. I give you some ideas about why this is better, what this promise is, and he just says, this new covenant is just better, and it makes the old one obsolete. And what is obsolete and outdated will soon disappear. He's not mixing words. He's just saying, this is why you don't go back to that. It's obsolete.
This must have been a real struggle for them, because to be it, and then now you're no longer it, because God has made a different choice in terms of how he wants to do his business versus how you think he should do his business. This had to be very, very challenging for them, because it's such a different mindset. And it's the same thing for us when we become baptized. When we get baptized and we become Christians, it's a different mindset. That's why you're picking up your cross every day and bearing it, because you've got to really think about how you're walking this walk. And I can see where it would be easier for them to say, you know, I can't deal with this anymore. This is too much. And now we've got these other people that you have entered into the promise with, these Gentile people who we really didn't like from the jump. And so now they're a part of the covenant. Ooh, this is a little bit much. And so I can see them wanting to go back to what was familiar over years and years and years of time, because that was the program. That was the way God wanted it done. And God is saying, but it's not like that anymore. And we've also got these new people coming in that you're going to have to deal with too. And they've got to deal with you too. And it must have been a mess.
Well, it's a hard thing. It's what's familiar. It's what's comfortable. It's what my mommy and daddy told me. It's what my grandparents told me. And now it's like, oh, you don't do that.
In the churches we left, you know, we started as Catholicism, and now we started with Catholicism, and now we want to go back. Or we started as a Baptist, and and it's uncomfortable, because God didn't say he was going to make it comfortable. He said his grace was sufficient. And so when you think about wanting to turn back to it, you have to think about that. Because what did you sign up for? What did you make a choice? You know, it was a free choice to say, I'm going to put on Christ. You didn't have to. You know, and then you're just praying that God will give you that extra day to make that choice, to put on Christ. But, yeah.
Well, and you know, if you think back to when you were first baptized, however old you were then, did you have the understanding that you have now? So what's something important? You brought that up. It's like you got to keep at it. And is it comfortable? No, because it's not. Even growing up in a Christian family, it's like, but now it's mine. It's like not being led by the hand to go to church. It's like I need to make a decision. I'm going to church. Well, that's not always easy to make your own decision, because I'm trying to break out and be my own man and do my stuff. It's like, well, but you know what? There's something bigger, and you need to focus on it. It's not about me being a big man. It's a matter of who's God and what's his promise and how do I be a part of that. And you don't have that understanding regardless of how old you were when you're first done. So what's vitally important? Staying in the Word and being with people that also believe, because we support each other, we could teach each other, everything else. Don't turn away from it, because this is how you grow and this is how you get better. This would be how you teach. This would be how you teach. So you find that new Christian, it's like, don't do all the, hey, the clapping, good for you, sing a couple songs, and okay, and pat them on the back, and off you go. It's like, draw them in. Because you think about it, when you were first baptized, did you have the same understanding? And when we get when we get our older people that have been baptized for longer, there's a lot of wealth of knowledge. It's like, that's the old people, they sit right up here. And we all sit over here. It's like, no. There's so much they know. There's so much they know. So one is, if you've been a Christian longer, share it. Share it with people. But for any of us, latch on to each other. That's why we're here. That's what the fellowship is about. It's, sure, we'll have a meal together, things like that, but that's just the light thing. We might watch a football game. You know what? The football game doesn't matter. It's a matter of you're together and how you're sharing and teaching each other how to live in this new promise and how we move forward. I think, Susan's got a hand. I think I saw one over with Jennifer.
Well, you mentioned part of my answer. I did get baptized, but I don't know how old I was. But it was at Calvary when I first started with John. That's a memory that I had with him. But over the years, I never got into church. I was raised Catholic with both my parents. And Stephen grows into it, but the main reason for me to come back here, besides John left me, is because I miss my other family. Calvary was my number one family. But when I got baptized here with Greg, this is my number two family, and I'm never going to leave them no matter what it takes. The Walmarts, the Bards, the Howes, the Hansons, everyone here that I grew up with. Family is the key. Love one another is also the key. You stay in the Word, pray if you need prayer for healing or anything. And love your neighbors as yourself. I live by myself, and some neighbors that I don't get along with. Some of them I do. Some of them I have things in common. But Calvary and you guys, you're the top two family that I ever have in my entire life, including PCL.
Yeah, it's family. And that's right. It's not just we're a club and meeting here. It's family. And that's why it's exciting to be here with you guys this morning, because it's not just, hey, we're a club. There is so much more to this. And you guys, dear family and friends. And we'll end with yours.
When I was, I think, first married or something, somebody told me that they said to make a list or count on your fingers the 5 people that you hang around with most. And then once I did that, I had that in my head. They said, okay, well, you will become like the 5 people that you hang around with most. And so they said, you can't do anything about, family. You have to, so you guys have to learn how to get along and influence each other for good if it's a bad relationship. But everybody else that you're choosing to hang around with, does that person help you to grow closer to God or pull you away? And so that really affected me. And all for the last 30 some years, that's what I do. I kind of think about, am I a better person? Am I getting closer to God? Am I displaying God more? But at the same time, then there are other things, like, for instance, you think about Christians or brothers and sisters that that aren't following Christ, or who are hanging around with people who they shouldn't be hanging around with. It's easy to just judge them, but at the same time, I think that for those of us who are stronger, that's an opportunity for us to try and step into their lives and become one of those people, one of those people that can help set a good example and offset the bad. I think that really, that's one of the things that with these people back here, they were, all of their family, all their friends were Jewish. So if you get some Jews who they stuck to that, the old ways, then it's going to be hard not to also do the same thing. And so, I don't know. that's just something to think about. That think about who you're hanging around with, who you're spending the most time with, and also encourage those people who are younger or not as strong to hang around with people who are going to bring them closer to Christ.
Good thought. That's class for this morning. Thank you for coming. We'll see you in a couple of minutes of services.